Welcome back to another episode of Unfiltered Romance Nights. We are your hosts, Colleen.
And I'm Marjorie. Tonight we have international best-selling author of steamy, dark, and delicious romance, Kylie Kent. She has written 11 interconnected series so far. I think I got that right. I counted the other day. I was counting.
11?
Yeah, I think it's 11 series when I counted.
I have no idea.
I went to your website.
That seems like a lot.
But yeah, welcome to our episode or podcast. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
We're excited. And congratulations on the last two releases you have, like Light It Up Red and Tilly.
Thanks.
So, we actually read it and we talked about it, about Light It Up Red, and we've been talking about it a lot. So, but before we take a deep dive into the book, we have a couple questions to get to know you a little bit better. So when did you first decide to write romance novels, and what was your inspiration?
The first book I wrote merged with him was in 2020. My inspiration, it's a little odd, but it was actually one of my friends. She told me that she didn't read romance books, and I was like an avid reader. Like, and romance was like all I ever read. So I was like, well, I'm just going to write one and you'll have to read it then. So I sat next to her and wrote the first chapter. And then every day after that, she kept asking for a new chapter. And then it turned into a book.
I love that.
That's awesome.
Well,
so it was very unintentional.
Yeah, but look at what it's done. Look at where you are. I mean, your books are addicting, I have to say. Light It Up Red was the first one because Marjorie is a diehard fan of yours. And she's like, well, let's read it. And I was like, oh my God, I have to go back and read them all now. So I love it.
Thank you.
How many books do you say average? I don't need an exact number. Do you think you write in a year?
Oh gosh, I would say 10 to 12.
Wow.
Wait, are we counting novellas?
Sure, yeah.
I would say, oh, well, that would make it more this year then. I would think 10 to 12.
Yeah. You just
for this year. Like, I think, yeah. But I don't think it will continue to be as many.
I know you have, it just flows out of you. You just have all these ideas.
But they're quick read too. Like as soon as, because I pre-order them, and as soon as they hit my Kindle, I was like, I'm gonna read whatever I'm reading later. I have to dive in on this one and read it. And I usually am able to read it in like one sitting. I love your books. I'm a huge fan. And they just, I never have any boring moments. I'm always like laughing. That's one of the things that I love about your books.
Thank you.
Do you have like a specific writing routine, or do you just write when idea moves you?
I write in sprints, so I write in bursts of 30 minutes. I usually we'll have like an actual timer and shut off, like I have to shut off everything else. I do have to have music on. Like I have to have headphones on and, like cancel out every other noise. And I always have music on in the background. But that's about it. And then I just write.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, did you find it hard to do you set like a certain time of the day and you're like, okay, I'm just gonna make it up. Say like 5:00 p.m. I'm doing 30 minutes, and like you're just able to get it out like that?
Yeah, like if I don't really set times. I just, I pretty much will just do it throughout the day.
Oh, okay.
Depending on what else I have on that day, or if I'm traveling. It's a bit harder if I'm traveling, and jet lag is a real see you next Tuesday. But so it just depends. But I don't have a specific schedule that I really stick to.
Okay. That
Like
makes sense.
some days I'll write 5,000 words, other days I can write 10,000 words.
Mhm.
All right. That's great.
That's amazing.
Now, how do you come up with the book titles? Because I think they're amazing. Like they're like have like a unique flair to them, like Lighted Up Red. How do you come up with that?
Um, there's a lot of back and forth. Like my editor and myself will often brainstorm titles.
Mm,
So I always write a blurb first. Like I write the blurb for the story before the story is even written. And then from that we try and get a titles. So, and it's usually back and forth, like, what about this or what about this? And
yeah.
then sometime, like, usually I will search it up as well on Amazon to see if it is already like a really
Oh,
popular title, or if it's, in use a lot, I'll try and like steer clear of it and try and come up with something a little bit more original. But
yeah.
that's not always possible.
Oh,
No,
I didn't even
I
think
think
about
you're
that.
like majority of your book titles are unique. I love
Yeah.
them. And they actually like make sense with, the
With
story
the
and
book.
in the book and then the series. They just make sense. I love
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
And I like them to flow through the series. Like I like it to have a similar, yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. So you've like written, like billionaires and mafia and sports now.
Mhm.
How do you decide which like subgenre to write next?
I think I think Mafia is something I'll always write just because that's what my readers seem to respond
Yeah.
to the best. Hockey I really loved, and I decided to do hockey because it was so popular.
Hmm.
But then of course I had to mix Mafia into it because everyone that reads me reads Mafia, so
Yeah. Yeah.
Hockey Mafia made sense.
Yep.
It just depends on what's trending, really,
Um,
and if it's something that I think my readers would also read. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, I'm a very much an MF writer, so I'm not going to go and do a reverse harem because it just doesn't make sense to the
Hmm.
brand that I've created.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. Yeah. I mean, I devoured this book. Like, I loved that you had the mafia, then you had the sports, and then I don't want to say, I'm not going to say rom-com. That's not the right fit,
Hmm.
but it's like that insta love. And it was just a little bit of everything, and everything just fit so perfectly.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There is always a little bit of humor. I try, even if it's like
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
there's obviously some darker moments in books.
Hmm.
Like I like to say my books are more grayish than dark. Like they're not overly dark, but they do have moments depending on what book it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, and like there is obviously torture scenes and stuff like that, but I do think that even the darkest of people still have humor.
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes they're the funniest, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's why I was like drawn to your books is like because I'm definitely a mafia romance reader. So and for some reason, like the sense of humor in mafia romance just works, no matter how like kind of how dark the
Mhm.
story is. Um, it just makes sense. I love that part, like, kind of like it's heavy usually plot, and then you add that sense of humor in there. It just balances it out.
Yeah, definitely. Now, Travis, love him. He's
Mhm.
just adorable in his own little
Well,
way.
wait until
And
you meet Luke.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
How did you come up with the pairing? Now, I know Liliana, this isn't her first entrance. She's been in,
Mhm.
here in other books, but how did you come up with their pairing?
I think it was just an easy way to mix the worlds, to blend
Mm,
the Valentino world with the Vancouver Knights world.
okay, that makes sense.
Because the Valentinos are um they've kind of got like a bit of a cult following.
They're everywhere.
You might like maybe, but everyone wants more of them. So I have to try and sprinkle a little bit of them into a lot of other projects.
Yeah.
That's good. You did it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So speaking of like, having the Valentino here and there, and I feel like that this question kind of answer it, like, because you're doing the Valentino Air series, and
Mhm.
I would have expected Liliana to be in the Valentino Air. How did you kind of decide to just put her in the Vancouver Night series?
I think because I knew that Theo Jr. was becoming boss. So like he was taking over, which was her dad. So it just made more sense for like the Valentino boss's daughter
Mhm.
to be with a hockey player. Because if you know Theo, then you know that he was never going to be okay with that because he was always very over the top protective, didn't ever want his kids to move out of home.
Yeah.
And the fact that she was going to move countries for this guy that she was in love with, like that really impacted him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was nervous. I was like, oh gosh.
Yeah.
I don't want to say, I don't know who has and hasn't read it, but I was real nervous. Like when when in the beginning of the book, when you find out like what happened
Yeah.
to Travis,
Like,
I'm
did
like,
he shoot Travis or
I
didn't
know,
he?
I'm like,
Yeah.
don't tell me. Don't
Yeah,
tell
I know. Yeah. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
I was nervous about that too, because like when I read the prologue, I was like, "There's no way." I was like, "No way." I was like, "Like, no, that's not gonna
Not my
happen."
Theo.
Yeah, no, not Theo. And then but as you read it, and you get to that part, it's like I love their relationship, like the father-daughter
Mhm.
relationship. Like
Yeah.
no matter how angry she got, it was a sweet moment, like when they had
Well,
that.
a lot of
Yeah.
people didn't like that she blamed her dad,
Oh,
which
really?
I feel like it's
But
kind of realistic. Like kids are
yeah.
bratty, no matter how old you are. Like kids are bratty to their parents. They're not
Right.
always going to be ideal.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it kind
And
of, for me, it made sense that that's
Mhm.
her first, because, he's the boss and he is
Yeah,
very overprotective. Like he didn't want
and
him to
he's
leave the house.
ruthless.
Like, yeah.
yeah, I mean, he threatened it how many different times? And
Mhm.
Right.
you're like, well,
Yeah.
who else could it have been? But
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
plot
and he
twist.
does have a tendency to shoot first.
Yeah. I mean, yeah,
Like
if
he's
you,
quick with the trigger.
right. Yeah.
Oh,
Like, I think it's like if people read his story and then like
Yeah,
whenever he gets sprinkled in there, that's how he is. Is like he'll ask questions later
yeah.
and just like go straight for it.
yeah. And I love that the family is in their own messed up way, so tight knit, and they love each other genuinely, because a lot of times you can read, I know for me, a lot of times I go into reading some mafia romance and I'm like, oh, they're going to come from a crap family and they don't. This was not that. And I loved that.
Yeah. I think the Valentinos are a different kind of mafia family because of that. Like there's no insider jealousy, there's no like I'm going to go against him. Like they're all just content in their own roles within the family.
Yeah. And it is, believe it or not, and it does ring true when it comes to the Italian family and,
Mhm.
mafia type families. They would do anything for their family. And
Yeah.
so it rang very true the way I read it. So,
Yeah.
um, now, what would you say is one of your favorite scenes that you wrote in Lighted Up Red?
Um,
Not to put you on the spot.
oh gosh. I think probably when he proposes.
Oh,
Oh, but then I really like when Lily was had the big DMM with her dad.
Okay.
And I also really love her brother, like the brother-sister relationship that they have, like where he's obviously a made man, her brother, so
Mhm.
he's supposed to do whatever the boss tells him to do, but he will always choose his sister first.
Right.
Yeah.
And I do like how, he just took off with her to Canada and didn't even second guess like why she wanted to go. Like he was just there to go with her. And
Yeah.
then tried to protect her when, she didn't want to see the dad, and it was just nice, It was a little brother, but he tries to be a big brother.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like almost like a role reversal for them, like
Yeah.
how overprotective he is. I love their relationship. It's like I think like all of the dynamics, like
Mhm.
like the brother-sister relationship with all of the other kids, it's really nice to see the
Yeah.
dynamics. Yeah.
And I also loved the part where Aurora shows up.
Yes. Yes. Aurora. I love
Everyone
her.
is hanging for Aurora.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So speaking of characters, out of all your characters, not to put you on the spot, but who is your favorite couple?
My favorite couple, um, it's always been Romeo and Livy,
Oh, yes.
but I do feel like I really liked Tilly and Antonio.
Mhm.
I feel like they're kind of on par, but yeah, Romeo and Livy or Tilly and Antonio. I really loved Antonio.
Yes. Yeah, he's a surprise for me. Like when I read that,
Yeah.
because I was like, I wonder who's gonna be Tilly's when you announce who it was. I was like, I don't know who's gonna be because, but they actually they're perfectly matched. They make sense. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I love. I mean, I guess I love all the pairing, but I think for me as a diehard fan, it's always gonna be Theo and Holly are my favorite. But I think that's because they're the first couple that I read
Yeah.
of yours. So yeah, that's
Oh, is
and
that the first one?
that's
Oh, okay.
the very first series that I read was Theo and Holly's, and then after that I was just like went down the rabbit hole, and now I've read all of them. So,
It's a big rabbit hole.
yeah, it is. Yeah.
Um, oh, I hope you can answer this, but can you tell me about any future projects that you have coming up? Anything that you can share with us and everyone?
Well, I have just started a Kickstarter. So
Oh,
I do have some future projects coming up on Kickstarter. Um, the first one will be, I don't know if I'm meant to say, but it will be about the heirs
oh, good.
and getting those books into paperbacks printed. Um, what else do I have coming up? I do have a trilogy planned for 2025. I don't know how much I can say about that because it will also be another Kickstarter campaign,
Oh,
but it
yeah.
is going to be a character that's heavily requested. Like it's requested on a daily basis.
The
No, I'm
wheels are
like,
turning,
yeah,
Marjorie.
I'm
and
like
I'm not
thinking.
exaggerating. Like it is every day I'm getting asked for this character.
I,
And if they're
I,
going to have a full book or if they're going to have a novella.
Okay, I feel like I know who it is now. Maybe because I'm like
as I
always,
look at the questions from the readers, I feel like I might know.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Uh,
I can tell you what the titles of the books will be,
yes,
but
Yeah.
probably, hang on, let me find.
obviously Mafia.
It
Can
will
you
be
say that?
Mafia, yeah.
Okay.
I literally just came up with them the other day.
That's so exciting.
I'm excited. So now I have to like put on notifications everywhere so I don't miss out on anything.
I'll let you tell me.
Yeah. I'll be like texting you. Did you see?
But I don't know where I've written them down. So now I don't know them off the top of my head.
Okay.
So
We'll keep an eye out
We'll-
as
I have
watch
them
it.
somewhere. I know that, but they are actually really good.
I'm excited.
But it will also it will depend on the Kickstarter whether or not that trilogy goes ahead.
Oh.
So if you're not
Okay.
following me on Kickstarter, you can go and follow me.
I'll have to look. I'll have to do that. You know what? I know one person that has a Kickstarter, and I don't even know if I really know what it is. It's just like a subscription type thing,
No, it's
or
not a subscription. So the creators will put up different projects and you pledge on a different tier level for that project. And if the campaign gets funded, then you get what you pledged for. So you get the reward. So say if it was like for the heirs, there'll be different tiers. So you could get a box set of paperbacks. Or would be tier 1, and then tier 2 might be like a box set and some merch. And then tier 3 might be a box set, a hardback, and a whole lot more merch. So
Ooh.
depending on the different tiers that you pledge is what you receive.
I have a
Okay.
feeling it's going to get funded.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if the campaign doesn't reach the funding goal, then the creator doesn't have to go ahead with it. And you don't
Okay.
get charged.
So for anyone listening, I'm going to need you to pledge.
We need it all pledged so they get funded. So we're gonna go to the reader questions. So this one is from Kim Lenky. I hope I pronounced that right. So will Emilio and Raph get a book?
I have no idea. I actually really love Emilio. Like, I feel like he was a really fun side character, but not every side character can get a book
Right.
at the same time.
Yeah.
Because I just don't have the time for that. But I do really love him.
Okay.
So it's possible,
Possible. Follow-up
but it's not
question.
planned.
Oh, okay, gotcha. No, that makes sense. I mean, and I think those two are like they got a lot of questions too, like being
Yeah.
requested or anything like that. Will there be another reunion book?
For the Valentinos?
No.
No. I don't think there needs to be a reunion 2.0.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like the Valentinos need to go out quietly.
Yeah.
Go on vacation for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a question from Amy, and I'm going to butcher this, and I'm sorry. Squantes. Can you do Enzo next, please? A book for Enzo.
Enzo's novella is not planned next. So the
Okay.
next novella, I don't know if I should say, but it's not Enzo.
Okay.
Because I do have it in my head. Like, it's not written, but it's in my head who the next novella is going to be.
Okay. So next one is
It'll be a
from
teenager, if that gives you any clues.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
It'll be one of the younger kids.
All right. I'm like counting all the kids and I'm like, who else hasn't had one? Next one is from Serena Sutliff. She wanted to know what story was the most difficult to write, both emotionally and just difficult to come up with.
I don't think any of them have been overly difficult to come up with, like the stories, because usually once I have the characters like personalities in my head, then the stories just kind of flow. But I think the most difficult to write emotionally was Lola.
That makes sense.
Just because I cried so much writing that one.
Oh, did you? Oh,
Yeah.
I cried on that one too. And I usually don't cry on that one. I was like, where's my tissues while I was reading?
Like, it's not overly graphic or anything like that, but I think it's just the way she feels so much.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I love
Okay.
her character arc though, like how it ended, like how she got her happily ever after
Yeah.
was like really nice to just see her happy, you know.
Yeah.
Those are my favorite types of books, like they go through so much and then just to get that happily ever after. That's my favorite.
Yeah. Well, she had like the worst life, so she deserves a happy.
Okay. I didn't read that one. I have to read that one.
Yeah.
There's a lot on your backlist. I gotta get on board. Um, okay, so this one is from Wendy Santorum. We kind of
Well,
went
that
over
was
that one.
that was
Oh,
Valentina.
okay.
It's a different.
Have you considered a reunion book in Australia so we can see what everyone is up to?
I get asked this question a lot, and my answer is always the same. It's no, because nobody wants to see a main character die. But if there was a reunion book in Australia, everyone knows that Riley is now she has Alzheimer's. So
Oh.
she's going to forget her family, she's going to forget her husband, and she's going to die. Like that's how it goes
Right.
with that condition. So there can't really be a happy book for that.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to write it.
Right. Yeah. That makes sense because I mean, if they read the Valentina reunion, it
Yes.
pretty
And
much
they
it
usually
tackled
ask
it.
after having read that. And I'm like, you realize she's
Yeah.
gets old, she forgets everyone and she dies. Like that's the story.
Yeah.
And
Aw.
I cried in that. Well, as much as I laughed in that book, I also cried at the same
Oh,
time.
I did
Yeah.
cry writing the Holly and Riley like little
Mhm.
conversations, and it
Yeah.
was originally going to be Holly was meant to die in that book.
That's what I was thinking too. I was like, please don't. Like, no, like I was just like, please don't, like. And then until, like as she get it, I was like, I feel like it's Riley, like, but it's still
Yeah.
gonna make me cry. Like, even if I had that inkling or thinking about it, I was just like, this is gonna make me cry. So I like that there was funny moments,
Yeah.
with the other kids. So
So unless they want to see a main character die, which they keep telling me they don't,
yeah,
No,
no,
thank
I
you.
don't think, yeah.
a Williamson reunion's just not going to happen.
I like to leave it where like the Valentino reunion where they're still like
Yeah,
it's just
she's
at the
still
beginning
alive.
stage.
She still has, majority, like she still has her memories. She's
Mhm.
like in the Valentino reunion, it was just the early onset stages. So
Mhm.
it wasn't that bad, but they knew it was coming because both Holly and Riley had experienced it with their mother.
Mm.
Yeah. I like to imagine them like it's everything is fine. Like nothing happens. Like nothing bad happens.
And
to
I
them.
don't want to break Bray's heart like that.
Oh yes, yes. Bray is very like, like he's so in love with Riley. It's just I can't even imagine that. So I'm just like, no, we'll keep it
Yeah,
at
I'm
that.
not.
It's like
Yeah.
it's not. Um okay. So next question is from Maria Santillo. Oh wait. Well, you already I feel like I could ask this, but are we gonna see Emilio and Raph like on other books? Like I guess sprinkling
No,
them in
because
and
that just doesn't make sense
Right.
for them to be in the other books unless they're following Tilly around, I guess. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. And where were we? Okay, so then from Christine Woodward, I think you answered this before we got to the questions. Is Aurora going to have her own book?
Aurora will have a story.
Yeah.
It could be a novella or it could be a trilogy.
Oh, okay, okay,
It could be a duet, but she will have a story.
Mhm.
okay. Got it.
Yeah, I feel like everyone asks that every day. And you're
Every day. I literally woke up to an email about it today. Like, I think I get at least 1 or 2 emails a day about Aurora. There's constantly messages on the group, like on the Facebook page, on Instagram.
Yeah, I see
Now I'm
that
going to sell
every
you. Now I'm going to send you an email when we get off and just say that.
Yeah. No, I see that every time. I was like, I feel like she's not answering it. Like, let's just wait until she announces it. Because like some of
I
the
have been answering that question since the reunion released.
right. I mean, I love her character. I mean, even like just the snippets. Every time I see her, I'm just like, oh, there she is. Like she's in somewhere. It's like
She's insane, but she's insane in a good way.
mhm. I'm trying to think like which of her parents did she like, like she got
She's
that
not really
personality.
like,
I don't.
I don't think she's really, well, I guess Mateo a little bit because
Mhm,
he was always like, he loved the gore of his job before
mhm.
Savannah
Yeah,
tamed him, you know,
right.
like he kind of put that aside for her.
Mhm,
But he did thrive in being the enforcer for the family.
mhm. Mm. So next question is from Jennifer Johnson. So how did you transition from being a teacher to a mafia author?
I think being a teacher is very similar to being a mob boss
That's
because you
good.
do have a lot of little soldiers to control. No, but I don't actually know. I started writing and then it took off and I stopped teaching. There wasn't really a transition. Like I
Oh,
would write, I remember when I first started writing, like I would be on my lunch break and I'd be writing in between classes or, like after school, before school, like,
just right.
yeah.
What
But there
grade did
wasn't
you
just,
teach?
I actually taught special ed.
Okay.
So I taught from kindergarten up to year 12, but
Oh,
I
okay.
mostly taught like kindergarten to year 2.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Follow-up question from Jennifer would be, is like, besides mafia, I guess, what future theme or are there any other families that you're planning to write?
I haven't really planned too much for 2025
Mm.
other than this trilogy that may or may not happen.
It's happening.
um, it's happening.
Yeah, we're
It's
gonna put it
happening.
out there that it's gonna happen.
It probably will because the story is like I actually have the blurbs written for it. Um, the story is in my head and it's a really different, like I haven't written that kind of story yet. So like the plot that happens in it.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
but other than that, I don't know what's going to happen in 2025. I know what's releasing this year,
Mm-hmm.
which is obviously the rest. We've got Puck Block, and then the rest of there's 3 more DeBellis family books. But yeah.
For those two. Like, yeah.
A lot of work to do.
Yeah, I
But I'm
know.
trying not to plan too much for 2025 because I
Oh,
do have a lot of events lined up for the first half of the year in
oh,
the US.
Oh, okay.
oh,
Oh, really? Where are you going?
Yeah. Um, I will be at Wild and Windy in Arizona in February.
February. Okay.
And then I've got Wild and Windy in Chicago. I feel like that's in May, I want to say. I'll be at Bray in Ohio. I think that's June. I feel like that's June. And then there's one in Atlantic City as well. They're really close together. It's either May or June in Atlantic City.
Oh, okay.
Um, and if Rare New York goes ahead, I will more than likely be there. But I can't announce that because it hasn't been announced.
Oh, okay.
Um,
nobody heard it. No one heard
But
it.
if it goes ahead, I would like to be there. And I think that's it. I think that takes me up to June, July,
Okay.
and then July I'm in England.
You're busy with the traveling next year.
Yeah, like the events are really busy, so
Well, that's exciting because then you can visit the states and see different places. So that'll be fun.
Mhm.
I need to look on the one in June or May that you're gonna be
Oh,
there. So I'm just
I
Where are
know.
you
gonna
Well,
have to find.
it stinks because I live in Florida now, and
Uh-huh.
there's not that many events. Well, there's Orlando, but I'm not going. But like all the good ones, like you just said, New York. Well, if I was still there, I would have been able to go. Or Atlantic City, I would have been able to go. There's not much here. What about by you? Do you have a lot, Marjorie?
No, I'm in
Yeah.
Montana. Nothing here. Nothing happens in Montana.
Oh,
So I
so
have
we'll
to
have to.
travel. So, but it's gonna
I
be
want to
really
go
good.
to Montana.
Oh, it's lovely. It's peaceful. I love it. But I also I don't like the city anymore.
Mm,
So I love Montana. It's just peaceful. So
hmm. Okay. Oh, here's a good question. This is from Patty Minato. Will there be a Gambino set of books since we had two connections to the Valentino family so far?
So that's kind of the same question as asking if Emilio and
Oh,
Ralph are
is
getting,
it? Okay.
because they're Gambinos.
These
I
people,
d
they want
I'm not going to
Emilio.
say I'm not going to say no,
Mhm.
but I don't. Yeah, I think if Emilio got a book, it would probably be a standalone,
Mhm.
just because he's the underboss. Like
Oh,
the underboss books are never as quite as exciting as the boss.
Right.
maybe a
I
novella.
don't know why. Like that's in my opinion. Like they're obviously still good books, but
Mhm.
they're not the boss.
Right. They don't get
And
as much.
Antonio, who is the boss, has already had his story told.
Yeah.
Mm,
I feel like they don't get as much action because they're always waiting for that from the boss, what they
Yeah.
need to do. And
Yeah.
that makes sense. So this one is from Liza Rowe. I guess so. Her question is, how do you go about writing a book in terms of, do you see something in a dream and go from there? And then how do you go from that to actual words on paper?
I start with a blurb, I create a title, and then I just start writing. I'm not a plotter.
Oh.
So I just write like chronologically, like chapter by chapter. I don't do bits here and bits there. I just like keep writing the story and hope for the best.
Is it almost like watching a movie in your head and putting it like
Mhm.
down? Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I'll think about it. Like I say, I don't plot, but I'll think about, different things that might happen in the story when I'm not writing.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like daydreaming, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like I might daydream about a scene and then like a week or so write that scene, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's not
I've,
yeah, it's not really well thought out. It's just this is who these people are, and then I start writing and it just kind of connects.
hmm. No, that's great
So I
to
always
be able
think
to
of
do that.
who they are as a character first, like what their personality is,
Mm-hmm.
what they like, what they don't like, things like that. And I'm not overly descriptive in my books either. So I don't really tend to describe too much about them, but I feel like their characteristics, like their personalities still show.
Oh yeah, they definitely show. Like it you can kind of like, as I've read all your books, so that it's not like they're all the same personality. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? It's like it's every book, it's still different. You get, like when they pop up on other books before you get their full story, it's fun to see them. So you're just like, oh, okay, when are they gonna have their own story so I can read more about them because they're just such great characters.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, before we close it up, I would like to ask 3 non-reading related questions, just fun questions. Well, that doesn't make sense because this one is, who would you say is your favorite author? If you had to just pick one, I'm putting you on the spot.
I would say Audrey Carlin.
Okay.
And I have been reading her books since way, way, way back when. I don't actually remember when I started, but I have had a KU subscription since 2016. So it was probably around then that I
Okay.
discovered her. And I just love her writing. Other than her, I was like a huge Megan March fan. So I've read like her whole catalogue. Everything she writes, I read.
Okay. I don't know. What is Audrey Collins write? Romance?
She does do romance.
Yeah.
So she's
Okay.
got a billionaire romance. She does a little bit of different, I don't know, a lot of billionaire. I would say a lot of billionaire.
Okay.
Let's
There
just pin
goes-
her in that.
I'm gonna write that down. There goes the TBR.
If you want a really good series, like my favorite series from her is the Trinity series.
Trinity.
Yeah, it starts with a trilogy and then it has a couple of spin-offs.
Okay. I want to look into that.
And I like writing stuff down.
I know.
Like stuff.
What is your favorite TV show or series?
I would say The Vampire Diaries and the
Yes.
original
Yes.
are like one of my all-time favorites. Or The Kardashians.
Okay.
Guilty
you-
Because
pleasure.
I am a sucker for some reality TV.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
I love it. I love the reality TV, or should we say not so reality TV? I love
Yeah.
it. Now, and I have to know now, is it Stefan or Damon?
Damon 100%.
Thank you.
See, that's
But it
that's
is kind of boring and
Yeah.
like
Damon.
even when he switches off his humanity, he's still not that exciting.
Not enough.
No. So it would be Klaus and then Damon.
Oh,
I
really?
love Klaus too. Like,
I love Klaus. I love an unhinged, psychotic.
yes.
He is.
Like, yeah.
Mm. So I mean, he
I
will
actually have a
translate
dog
well.
named Klaus.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Klaus would translate really well in books. Like
Mhm.
like
Oh,
the
definitely.
MMCs that we read, like
Yeah.
Absolutely. Even
should-
Damon. Stefan, rom-com.
rom-com.
Yeah, he's just a little bit more. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't overly sad when he died.
Oh, right. Yeah. I was a little sad.
No, I wasn't overly sad.
Yeah.
I was sad when Klaus died, and I remember when I went to New Orleans, I went and like sat on the benches where Klaus and Elijah had their final scene, and I was just like, "Oh, this is so sad."
Right.
Oh my
I
God.
I think I
that's
saw
funny.
that. Like I remember that scene. It was like that was sad. It's
Yeah.
always sad when they're like they kill off like a main character. I mean, not Stefan, but like other
Yeah.
ones. Like,
Like, I can't believe he died, and I fully expected him to come back to life in Legacies,
Yeah.
but he didn't. I was like, well, this is boring. Where's Klaus?
I know.
I mean, they've had references of him. Like they
They
keep
did have
putting
references of
him. It's like, can you just bring him on since you keep talking about him?
Yeah.
Mm.
And I feel like his daughter could have been a little bit more unhinged than what she was.
Yeah. Yeah, even
Yeah.
when she switches off her humanity, it's like I feel like with who her mom is and her dad, I feel like she
Yeah.
should have been more. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
well, that brings us to the end, and we'll leave off on a Vampire Diaries note. Congratulations again on both of your releases, and we really
Thank you.
appreciate you taking the time to chat with us today.
Yeah, thank you so much. We appreciate it. I'm looking forward to, is it Puck Block or one of the
Puck Blocked.
is the next one, right?
The next release is
Or is it the Debellis?
Thinnest Virtue,
Okay, yes, that one.
which is a Debellis book, and it will have Marcel and Zoe.
Zoe. Okay. Oh, I'm excited with that
Zoe
one.
is also a spin-off from the Valentino family.
Right. Yes, I'm excited for that one. So
I gotta finish these arcs so I can jump into this
Yes.
Valentino family.
you should. I mean, they're quick reads. I always say that.
I
like,
know.
they're super quick, and you just kind of like as soon as you finish, it's like, when is the next book? Where's the next book? Like I'm just like itching to like do that. So I was really happy when you have Tilly. I was like, oh yay, Valentino, like my favorite family.
All right. Well, again, thank you. And hopefully next year we can have you on again and we can talk about the trilogy.
If it happens.
I'm going to put it into the universe. It's happening.
It's happening. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
So much.
Bye.
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 Be sure to follow us on our socials and make sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on any of our new episodes. If you have any authors you would like to see on the podcast, just send us a DM on Instagram or TikTok. Well, that's all. See you next time.
See you guys next time.